Hello and welcome to another day on Cornwall Pocket Farm, where I try and figure out how to live sustainably on 300 square metres in the city. Today it is glorious. We've had some terrible weather. It has been blowy and rainy and the wind has not let up for weeks, it seems like. Anyway, the garden is a bit windblown, as it usually is, but it is glorious and there's not too much wind today, so hopefully we can get in the garden and you'll be able to hear me. I have thought about trying to get some sort of lapel microphone that I see other YouTubers using, but yeah, I might just save up for that for a little bit. Anyway, so just for the minute you'll have to bear with when it's a bit windy and maybe there's a bit of wind noise, but hopefully it won't be too bad today. So there's lots of jobs to do in the garden, as there is always, although weirdly enough I don't feel too far behind. Probably because the weather has been really quite cold and it's not really been great weather to plant out yet, because it does seem just a little bit on the edge. Surprisingly, last night in Auckland it dropped to about, I think it was 4 or 5 degrees, so I did bring in a bunch of stuff and cover up some things that I had in my cold frames, and everything seems to be okay today, so they've gone back out again because it's nice and sunny. But yeah, the weather's not been too warm. I mean, obviously when it's sunny like this it heats up in the day, but it's been getting a bit chilly at night, so I don't feel too far behind, which is good because after I was ill for a few weeks, according to my schedule I'm a few weeks behind, but in reality, you know, the weather being what it is, I'm not that far behind. Anyway, enough waffling, let's get into the garden and I'll get on with some jobs. If that chicken will stop announcing that she's laid an egg. The chickens are in full flow and we're having lots of eggs at the moment and they're making a lot of noise about it. They're obviously really enjoying spring. Yes. Have you finished? No. She's very pleased about it, whatever it is. So, I'll see you in the garden. So these are my seedlings in the lounge at the moment. They're doing quite well. So you can see over here, now I'm going to try and remember what they all are. There I think we've got, try and read my badly written labels, Honesty and also Gypsophilia. The Honesty is doing quite well. I've only got a couple of little Gypsophilia coming up, so hopefully they'll get going. That's Portulaca, and that has not done very well. A few things have sort of germinated. I don't know if you're going really close. Can you see some? They're tiny, but they've sort of germinated and then fallen over, some of them, so I don't know about that. That's a cottage garden mix. The next lot are doing much better. So those there are Achilles, I think they're called, and Echium. The Echium are the big ones, so they're doing well. Those are hollyhocks, so they're coming along nicely. That is Lobelia. Now one side is doing well, Lobelia white is doing well, but Lobelia blue, not so well. And here we've got some basil coming through, so that's doing okay. And then we've got some red onions and Rocket. So as you can see, Rocket is well ready to graduate to the conservatory now. Now I have to climb over this chair a minute. Bear with me. Okay, so there we have, what's that? That's lettuce. That's not doing too well actually, but much better coming on here. These are chard, doing quite nicely. Then we have some more oniony type things. What are they? They're leeks, doing nicely. And then we have 3 lots of tomatoes. I had some old seeds for the Ailsa Craig and they've all decided that no, they were perfectly happy, and so I've got heaps of those. I've got Amish paste, similarly, lots and lots. Gardener's Delight, a little slow, but yet coming on nicely. So there's definitely a few trays here to graduate. Okay, so this is the other windowsill. Cosmos. Weirdly enough, look, I had one sort of cosmos on one side and a different sort of cosmos packet of seeds on the other. And quite clearly, This side is done really well and the other side hasn't germinated at all. Here we had radicchio and aquilegia and nothing at all, no show. So that'll have to stay a little while, and of course calendula doing very nicely coming along. So as you can see, quite a lot to graduate into the conservatory, and there's a few things in the conservatory that still need potting on. Okay, so in the conservatory, this is my sort of latest experiment. I use toilet rolls in these planters, which are really quite narrow and quite small, so I couldn't really use them for much else because they dry out really quickly in the summer. But they fitted 20 toilet rolls. I soaked the seeds for about 6 hours. Soaked the pea seeds for about 6 hours, and then popped maybe 2 in each toilet roll. They're growing great guns, these not so much, but maybe it's just a timing thing. The idea is to get them kicked off in toilet rolls. They don't like their roots disturbed very much, and if I put peas directly into the ground, they just get eaten by the slugs and snails. So this is my next technique. I've been growing quite a lot in hanging baskets and they've done really well. I'll just show you that actually. So I've been growing quite a lot of them in hanging baskets. As you can see there, both sides, they are dwarf Monge 2, I believe, and they're doing really well. And over there we've had a great harvest from those two. That one that you can see in the front is pretty much over. It's looking very ratty, so I will sew up another hanging basket. So hanging baskets are doing quite well, but this is a new technique that I am trying, and these will actually go in the ground, and the plan is to put them in my pumpkin bed. So I've kicked them off already, put them in the pumpkin bed, and hopefully we will get a nice crop of peas or Monge 2 before the pumpkins start to run. Obviously, I've not even started my pumpkins yet, so they'll have a bit of time to grow and produce before the pumpkins. Anyway, another experiment. My geraniums or pelargoniums, whatever they're called, are doing beautifully. I mean, they're just such a delight. I saw on YouTube people had a sort of a mother plant inside, and then every year they took cuttings from it to put outside, and I thought, oh, that's a nice idea. Over here I've got aubergine, which have been potted up and actually will live in the conservatory this year because they have done just so much better in the conservatory when I've grown them in here, and when I've put them outside they just don't do very well at all, and we get very little harvest. So those are my aubergine to stay in. These here are some peppers and these ones here are Cape gooseberries and some other peppers as well, and they need to get potted on. And as you can see at the back, these are punnets that I've bought from Mitre 10. They're corn, obviously sweet corn. Last year I had 3 different sowings of corn. None of them came to anything. They just didn't germinate. I had 1 or 2 patchy ones, and in the end I bought some punnets to infill. This year I tried to chit my corn seeds. They've been inside in the warm, moist. They were F1, all the rest of it, and not a single one germinated. So I've gone straight to the bottom line. I've just bought 2 punnets of bought corn, and I'm going to plant those up and just see how we go with that. So look, if you guys have any idea how to grow corn, please let me know, because I have tried growing it direct, sowing it direct early in the season, but also later in the season when it got quite warm. I have tried growing it in punnets in the conservatory when it's warm. I've tried starting off in the house when it's warm. I've tried F1, I've tried organic, I've tried all sorts. I can't seem to get the corn to go. Oh, and this year, of course, I tried chitting it on wet toilet paper in a sort of a sealed environment. They just sort of went mouldy. So I'm not getting very far with it. So if you've got any ideas, please let me know in the comments below. And I want to show you my tomatoes. I don't know if you can see, I might try and zoom in a bit on that one. There is a tomato on that plant. As you can see, lots of flowers. Lots of flowers. Oh, and there's a tomato on that one too. I can see a little tomato on that one as well. These are my other experiment, the ones that I put directly outside. Now I mean, they have buds on them. Look, I mean, they are they are going to flower quite clearly, but I don't know if you can also see some of the leaves have got black spots on, and we had a very cold night last night, and yeah, it's difficult for them. Look, you can see that they do have flowers, but it is quite cold out here. Now I do have my early tomatoes, which are actually just potted on and sitting in here, but as you can see they are struggling a bit. But these early tomatoes are ones that'll go out in the bed, so we'll see if they come right. And then just don't look at my dying peppers. No, we'll leave those there. And this is full of things that really should go into the beds very soon. And I don't know if you can see those two plants here and here. Those are my dwarf mulberries cuttings that I got off a friend. Very excited. They're all in leaf. I've potted them on, so hopefully the roots will be coming out and going great guns. And yeah, as soon as they really start to take and do well, I'll pop those in the garden too. And those, of course, are my coumaris slips, which lots of weeds, of course, as you can see. But my coumaris slips, I take cuttings from the previous year's coumaris and then root them in the conservatory and then pot them up, as you can see, and they generally stay in the conservatory for quite some time, but now they're out here sort of being hardened off. I will pop those into my coumaris planter really quite soon, I think. You'll be pleased to know I have got some more masks after my last disaster when I was putting out those tomatoes and the elastics broke. I got some new ones. It's always a big challenge trying to find them small enough for my face. I don't know, they seem to be very large. I mean, they make them for maybe big men's faces, I don't know. I've got quite a small head and they're just so huge. So if anybody knows, again, if anybody knows of some small face masks that I could get hold of that just cover my nose and my mouth and not my entire face, that would be great. And I also should show you something that I got the other day. So I've got some fairly smart gumboots. The old ones that I had were very cheap from a very cheap shop. We're mentioning no names. And of course they had a hole in them and they leaked and the lining always rucked up and it was really irritating. And I thought, no, I'm going to splash out, buy myself some nice wellies. So I'll show you. Pretty smart, hey? They have little clips on the back. The little tightening clips on the back are really great. I have quite large calves. That's probably because I walk everywhere and I cycle everywhere. And I do often find that when I put on gum boots or Wellington boots, they're really snug on the calves. In fact, it was so embarrassing because I did try on another pair and they got stuck. I had to actually get the shop assistant to pull and pull to get them off. So these ones with the clips at the back are perfect. So yeah, really pleased with those, and now I feel terribly professional in the garden. This hanging basket with peas has pretty much finished now. There are a few peas just left on the end. They're the sugar snap type peas. There are a few left on the end, but it's pretty much finished now. So I'm actually going to take this down and replace it with a new one, my latest succession of hanging baskets. And this hanging basket I got off the side of the road, and as you can see, it doesn't actually match the others. And I thought, well, actually I wanted a matching one, so I'm going to put this somewhere else, because now I have 4 hanging baskets on Crystal Palace, and they work so well to keep out of the way of slugs and snails in the spring, winter and autumn. I'm actually going to use them quite a lot more. So I've swapped this one out for one that matches the other 2, and then I'm going to put this somewhere else. But for now it's finished, so I'm taking it down. Okay, so I've got my new basket, one that matches the other ones. I'm doing some sugar snap peas. I found that the dwarf ones work better. The one that I've just taken down was actually a full-size one, and they dangle a lot, and in the wind that we're having they actually don't do as well. So I found that these dwarf ones do better, so I think that's what I'm sticking with at the moment. I'm going to use the veggie mix that I used in the tomatoes and my handy dandy composty seedling potting on-y bench, which works a treat. I'm so pleased with it. Oh, I could use one of my new masks. See how big these ones are. Modern preoccupation with sealing everything so you can't get at it. Ugh. Not too big, I don't think. Still pretty large. There we go, on. Right, so I've just given it one water, very brief water. I will now let it drain a little bit. The potting mix was quite wet, so I'm not too bothered about that. But I will give it another little, let it rest and let that soak through, give it another little water. And then I'll let it drain, because I've found from experience that if you hang it up now, the water will all run down your arm. So, pro tip, wait for it to drain before you hang it up. And this is my seed packet. I don't think it's that old. What does it say? It might be old. Is it old? No. So before 2025, so pretty new. And it's split all down the side and all down there too. So, yeah. I might have to go and sellotape that together because there's still quite a number of seeds in here. You get quite a lot. I mean, I've got, I think, yeah, at least there's 1, 2, I did 1, 2, this one again 3, when you saw the amount of seeds that I used, and I've probably got in here at least another 2 hanging basketfuls. So they go a long way, and you've seen the amount of work I put into this, it's not a lot, and then you get food. It's great. Okay, didn't drip up my arm. Yay. The other thing that I've done is I've just added a little bit of sort of, I think it's frost cloth. I've just pegged it onto the hanging basket just to hold in some of the moisture and stop the birds attacking it. And then as soon as the peas pop through, I will remove that. But it just provides a little bit of protection while it's getting going. The next job I've got to do is a bit of potting on. I've got these Cape gooseberries. It's the first time I've ever grown Cape gooseberries, so that's a bit of an exciting project. The seeds were given to me by a friend, so I thought I'd give it a go. I don't think I've even eaten a Cape gooseberry, so interested to know what they taste like. And then these obviously are my peppers, which I'm growing on for the garden, and they just need to be in bigger pots now. Again, I'm just going to use this old compost that I've got left over in here just to pot on these seedlings. It's quite soggy because of all the rain we've been having, but it should do the job, I think. I'm just wondering whether these are going to come out cleanly. Let me just try, because I did water them the other day, so they're still quite a bit wet. When you pot on seedlings, it's better to have them dry, because the soil holds together better when you're taking them out of the punnets, so the roots don't get disturbed as much. But these ones are quite wet, because I didn't know I was actually going to be doing this potting on today. So the soil may collapse, in which case I'll need a different technique in the pot than if it wasn't going to. But hey, let's just see how they go. Oh no, holding together reasonably well, so different technique. If they hold together reasonably well like that, I will put a little soil in the bottom of this pot, then put the seedling in, and then backfill around it. No, it's not going to stay. No, it's going to fall apart. Okay, so back to planet A. And onwards. I found these handy trays. They're great for moving things around. I found them in the recycle bin at Mitre 10. Usually you can get these types of pots there, but they had these trays in there, which I was really pleased about. I had 2 of them, so I picked those up. And again, I'll just water these seedlings, and then these ones will go into the cold frame because they need to prep to go out into the garden. Okay, so the next job today is, there's a few flies about because now we're in the middle of spring. So it is time to deploy the fly trap. So I'll put a link to the video up above where I go through the fly trap, how it works and how I came up with the idea, if you like. But anyway, time to do the fly trap. So in here, in this bowl here, I have a teaspoon of flour, a teaspoon of sugar and a teaspoon of dried yeast and a bit of water, warmish water. Then I leave it a bit just to sort of froth up a bit. And here is the magic ingredient. Now you see on the top, hopefully you can read, it says fly trap only. And this is because this stuff is absolutely lethal. When we get the odd broken egg or something like that, or an egg where we found it in the run and we don't really know how old it is, I will break it and put it into here. And then it goes into the freezer. But what we're after is the smell. Because the smell of this mixed with that is absolutely delicious to flies. Like, they can't get enough of it. So I'll get the fly trap, I'll pour this into this, and then I stir it with a stick because I really don't want to touch it with any utensils whatsoever. And then we'll put it into the fly trap and set it up. Okay, so the fly trap has 3 pieces. It has this bowl with a metal mesh cover that I've made for it so that essentially the flies can't get at the bait. It has the main body of the thing, which is this here, and then it just has this piece here, which is, I don't know, it's something I bought from the op shop and just cut the centre out. But this essentially allows the flies to come into the bait and get caught in the body. So, first job, I need a stick. I'll find a stick, be back. Stick, we have a stick. You don't want to touch this egg stuff. Right, so this, I just take off. And the mesh is just bent round so that it sits on the top. Right, we can pour in the yeasty mixture. Now, some fly trap mixture. Ooh, and this stinks. Oh, yum. Right, give it a bit of a stir. Ooh, there's lumpy bits. Nothing like, oh, God, that stinks. Oh, whoa. Oh, golly. Oh. I don't think we don't usually need that much. That'll probably be ample. Ugh. Gross. Gross. You get a bit more? No, that'll do. Ugh. Lid on. Woo, Maggie, that stinks, doesn't it? Ugh. Right, this stick, go and put it somewhere well out the way. I don't want Maggie getting hold of it. Blech. Okay, so that's it prepped. The yeast apparently attracts the flies as well, but I found when you add the egg, that's the clincher. Right, so the mixture goes in the center like that, and then this goes on the top, this goes in the third, it goes in the third, it goes in the third. Okay, so that then slotted in. This then becomes a whole thing which I can place in. The flies will go in underneath and through these holes and get caught in the inside, and then essentially they die just because they can't get out. Afterwards I can turn it upside down and the chickens eat all the flies, so nothing wasted. Okay, I'll go and put it in the chicken coop. It'll sit there, and well, there's already flies buzzing around it, but in a couple of days it'll be very, very busy. Okay, so the next job, I should just say, I have just planted those kumara slips out in the Ponte Vecchio. That's the planter bed that goes over the top of my bins that we most recently completed. I don't know if I've mentioned it, but we christened it the Ponte Vecchio after the Ponte Vecchio in Italy. Anyway, you know how we love these pretentious names in our garden, so that's what that's christened. But anyway, I planted them up there, but my tripod just really wasn't tall enough to show you what I was doing, so trust me. Oh, and by the way, the garlic has terrible rust, as it always does. My garlic, I can never grow garlic, it always has terrible rust, but usually it sits in my garden beds taking up garden space. So I'm really pleased now that it's in my new planter. A, it's above head height, so it doesn't look at me and make me feel guilty all the time, and B, it's not taking up space in my garden bed so I can plant other things. So that's got rust, so I didn't feel bad at all about crowding around it with my kumara slips, which is actually the main purpose of that bed, but I thought I'd try garlic in there anyway. Right, next job. I have this, which is a cutting of a sort of perpetual kale over there that has done really well, but it's in the wrong place and I don't want it there. So I've taken a cutting and I've rooted that up, so that I want to put at the back, because I've decided this bit at the back now is going to be more of a perennial bed, because it struggles with light, and this has proved that it'll grow in complete darkness all the way through the winter. So that's why it's going in the back. And then I also have these two cuttings. And this is some Okinawa spinach that a visitor to my garden very kindly gave to me. And I potted it up, and the first thing that happened was a slug just chopped the top off. So I took the bit that had been chopped off, put it in water, grew new roots, and popped it in here. But of course then that bit came back to life. So I now have two of these, but they do seem to be quite tasty to the slugs and snails. So that gives me better options. And it grows in shade apparently. So these are going to go down here. So this is what I'm going to get in next. So I've put that little one in there, and hopefully it'll do okay. It seems to be pretty robust. So even though that is pretty dark at the moment, it will get some sun later on, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, the other one just won't give up, even though I half dug it out. It just started to grow from the roots. So hopefully that'll work there. And then the Okinawa spinach is hiding. It just very blends in very well. So I put them there, and I'm hoping that the slug and snail incident we had before doesn't happen again, because if they are desperately attractive to slugs and snails and they just keep getting nibbled off, well, it'll be a very short trip to nowhere. But apparently they do okay in shade, and hopefully that's enough room between the rhubarb and the Okinawa spinach. And I don't know if you can see, but my dahlias are up. Well, a couple of them are up. And there's another one over there as well. That one, oh, I don't know if you can see, actually it's in the shade. Oh, that one's up too. So just waiting for the other two, very exciting. I'm just desperately hoping that slugs and snails don't get to them. I thought I would bring you along for the wicking bed build. So of course the first step is to draw a very detailed and scale accurate drawing of what you're intending to do. And this is pretty much the sort of level of thing that
we do here. Because everything is wonky. Our wood is wonky, the original structures are wonky, the ground is wonky. So it's only really a sort of a bit of a guesstimate, and then we sort of bodge it when we get there. So yeah, nobody's ever going to hire us to build anything, but it works for us. This here is the existing carport back here. And the bed is going to be 400 deep and 2830 wide. There are going to be 3 posts. Oh, it's difficult to show you. 3 posts along the front, which we've got. These posts are sort of existing on the back of the carport. So we're going to put in 3 posts to sort of hold the structure together. We need to have the soil no more than 300 millimeters deep, apparently, otherwise the wicking won't work. There needs to be an overflow pipe here on top of the gravel section. So the way a wicking bed works, you have like gravel or sand in the bottom. And this has got a plastic liner so that basically it creates a bit of a reservoir. Then you have a sort of a weed membrane layer, sort of all the way across the bed. And then you'll see more about this when we build it. And then on top of that, you have the soil, no more than 300 millimeters. And then what you do is you have to put a pipe in this corner, but I haven't drawn it. There's a pipe in the corner that gets the water down into this reservoir, and then it wicks up and keeps that bed watered. I'm also adding a little detail here, is I want to put a gap along the front here in the soil part, obviously, above the reservoir part that must be watertight, obviously. A gap here, because I want to plant strawberries along the front. And then they can sort of dangle down the front of the bed. That's my idea at the moment. That may change, of course, because, things change. Anyway, there we go. Huge technical terminology there. And hopefully you'll see how it works as we go along. Update on the wicking bed. We got all the bits of wood out of that wood pile at the weekend. And they have all been cut to length. So they're ready to build. We've covered them up with plastic so that they try and stay a bit dry, because it's harder to work with wet wood. We were really surprised how easily they went through the drop saw, actually, because I was imagining a nightmare. They were very big, very heavy and quite thick. So I thought it would be more difficult than it was, but it went through like butter. So I was really pleased about that. And these are the end pieces under the table just to keep them dry. So that they're not very big, obviously they're only 400 deep, so that's where we've kept those. And the posts that we're going to use, you can't see them, but they're tucked, maybe you can just a little bit, they're tucked behind the bicycle just to keep those dry as well. So we're all cut to length and ready to go. So as soon as we have another nice dry day that coincides with the weekend, we'll be on to building the wicking bed.
Okay, so I got a few things done, a few little jobs that I needed to get out of the way. You know, those niggly little jobs that you sort of look at as you're walking around the garden and you think, oh, I must get that in the ground. Well, I have got some of those things in the ground, so that's very pleasing. I do, of course, need to do some more seed sowing, and I probably need to plant out at least one new bed. It's got a bit confusing because we've got the shed on order. The next bed to be planted was actually the one right next to the shed. But I'm going to probably have big men with big shoes jumping all over that bed, so I don't want to put anything in there just yet. So I'm having to sort of juggle things around a bit, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to work that yet. So hey-ho, we will see. But yeah, probably if the weather holds, I should get in the garden tomorrow as well and sow some seeds. I will see you next week. So yeah, have a good week, and I hope all your sowing and planting and everything is going okay. Or if you're in the other hemisphere, you're harvesting, and well, you will be seed sowing, won't you? You'll be seed sowing for winter, presumably, if you live in a mild enough climate. So anyway, I hope all that is going well, and I'll see you next week. Bye.